OpenClaw just shipped v2026.4.23, fourth release in 4 days, and the pattern is clear now. Every other day is a feature drop, and every other day is a security sweep. The headline changed today. OpenAI's GPT Image 2 image generation now routes through Codex OAuth. Same sign-in as Codex CLI. No separate OpenAI API key needed. Plus, roughly 25 security patches that quietly landed across WhatsApp, Discord, Teams, Android, Windows, Fieshu, and the MCP Tools bridge. 29 contributors credited in the release notes. Signed and shipped by a Stipete at 1519 UTC with a verified SSH signature. Let's break it down section by section. Quick context first. OpenClaw v2026.4.20 shipped Monday. 81 commits. Kimi K2.6, Session Hygiene. v2026.4.21 shipped Tuesday as a small boring reliability patch. v2026.4.22 shipped yesterday as a chunky feature drop. XAI image and TTS and STT, local 2i mode, Tencent Cloud and Bedrock Mantle providers, plus an 82 to 90% plugin load speedup. Today's release sits in a different lane, lighter on new surface area than yesterday, heavier on security than any of them. Of the roughly 68 total changes in the notes, 25 are explicitly security tagged. That is a pattern. After a chunky feature release, a security sweep. Good engineering discipline in public. If you are running OpenClaw in any kind of multi-user or gateway-exposed deployment, this is the release to bump to this week. Here's the hero feature. OpenAI's GPT Image 2 model, their current flagship image generation model, now routes through the same Codex OAuth login you already use for Codex CLI. Before today, if you wanted OpenClaw to generate images, you had a choice. Pay as you go with an OpenAI API key, which meant managing a second credential and separate billing, or skip image gen entirely. Now it is the same sign-in. One OAuth, build through your ChatGPT Plus or Pro or Business subscription, no new API key to provision. That is a real win for solo developers and small teams who are doing the credential dance. Second feature worth calling out, reference image editing. Point OpenClaw at an existing PNG and describe the edit. Both the OpenAI provider and OpenRouter now support it through pull requests 70642 for OpenAI and 55066 and 16668 for OpenRouter. The OpenAI path uses a guarded multi-part upload route. That guarding matters because unrestricted file uploads are one of the classic workspace takeover vectors. And there is a new per call timeout mess parameter on image, video, music, and TTS generation tools. Agents can now set a 90-second timeout for a specific heavy render without changing global settings. Clean API design, you get control where you need it, defaults everywhere else. Worth noting, memory embedding also got a new memory search.local.context size config with a 4096 default for the local embedding window. 25 security patches is a lot for a single release. Vincent Koch wrote roughly half of them. The headlines, Android clear text gateway pairing is now loopback only on both manual and scanned routes, so mobile users on HTTP across a LAN need loopback tunneling or HTTPS. Ask OpenClaw intents no longer autosend injected prompts. Gateway config, apply, and config.patch fail closed when invoked by agents. Webhook secret ref tokens re-resolve on every request, no stale cached credentials. MCP Tools bridge no longer lists or invokes owner-only tools from the ACPX bridge. Direct follow-up to last release's owner command auth fix. That is 5 of the 25. The full list is in the release notes. Release notes are on GitHub. It is a long page. Every fix gets a linked pull request, so you can trace what changed and why. The structure is consistent across the April sprint, categorized by subsystem, PR numbers inline, contributor credits at the bottom. Signed SSH signature from a Stipete confirms the release. 8 thumbs up and 1 eyes emoji in the reactions at time of filming. Quiet confidence from the community. Worth reading the security section line by line if you are deploying this to anything that touches untrusted input. Each entry has a PR number and a short summary. The pull requests themselves are usually tight. 1 focus changes, not sprawling rewrites. 2 hardening changes unify OpenClaw's security posture with the tools it integrates. First, Anthropic CLI bypass permissions now derives from OpenClaw's YOLO exec policy in pull request 70723. Before today, those were 2 separate gates. OpenClaw's dangerous mode flag and Claude CLI's bypass permissions operated independently, which meant an agent could flip one and keep the other locked. Now they share a source of truth. Second, the MCP tools bridge running through ACPX no longer lists or invokes owner-only tools in pull request 70698. If an owner-scoped command existed on the gateway, the MCP bridge could previously still expose it to downstream MCP clients. Not anymore. That is the real tightening of the trust boundary between OpenClaw and its MCP peers, directly closing a class of escalation path that was technically available if hard to reach in practice. A few behavior changes before you bump. 1. The OpenAI GPT 5.3 Codex Spark model is removed from the advertised Codex model list. If you had pinned to it, pin to something else. 2. Chat exec approval must now be explicitly enabled. Previously, it auto-enabled in certain flows. If you relied on implicit approval, calls will now block until you opt in. 3. Android ClearText Gateway pairing rejects non-loopback hosts. Mobile users on LAN-only HTTP setups need to switch to loopback tunneling, or HTTPS. 4. Discord native/commands now honor configured channel restrictions. Previously, they bypassed. If a /command suddenly stops working in a lockdown channel, that is why. Worth acknowledging the cadence side of this. 4 releases in 4 days is aggressive by any project standard, let alone a single maintainer open source project with a growing contributor base. Xtypete himself has flagged on X that PRs are growing at an impossible rate, and the engineering discipline here is that the releases are still coherent. v2026.4.22 was features. v2026.4.23 is security. That alternation is what keeps a fast cadence from turning into chaos. If you are evaluating OpenClaw for real use, this rhythm matters more than any single feature, because it is the signal that the project can absorb contribution velocity without quality regression. Most single maintainer projects collapse under that kind of pressure, but this one keeps shipping coherent work every day. Upgrade with npm install -g OpenClaw at latest. If you use image generation, the Codex OAuth routing is an immediate win. Drop your standalone OpenAI API key if you're only using it for images. If you run OpenClaw on mobile or have Discord integrations, review the behavior changes before you deploy. If you are on a security-sensitive deployment, this is the best release of the week to be on. And if you are reading release notes this week trying to pick between v2026.4.22 and v2026.4.23, bump to the newer one. All of yesterday's features are still there, plus the hardening. Subscribe for every OpenClaw release as it ships, usually within hours of the tag. We cover every drop in the ecosystem end to end. Release notes in the description. See you in the next one.